I still can't get into an Uber without my hands shaking. It's been 3 years since that night. 3 years since I learned that the person you trust to get you home safely can be the same person planning to make sure you never get home at all. My name is Maya Patel. I'm 29 years old. I'm a marketing consultant in Chicago. And for 6 months, I had no idea that my regular Uber driver was listening to every word I said, learning everything about me, and planning the perfect kidnapping. This is my story. It started so innocently, the way these things always do, I guess. I work long hours, the kind of hours where you leave the office at 9 or 10 at night, sometimes later. Public transit feels sketchy that late, and parking downtown costs more than my student loan payment, so I relied on rideshare apps, Uber mostly. And after a while, I started getting the same driver. His name was David Chen. At least that's what his profile said. 5-star rating, over 3,000 rides, clean car, polite, professional. The kind of driver you're actually happy to see when you're exhausted and just want to get home. The first time I got him was in January. I remember because it was freezing, one of those Chicago nights where the wind cuts through your coat like it's made of paper. I'd been working on a campaign presentation for a major client, and I was fried, brain dead, completely done. I got into his car, a black Honda Accord, immaculately clean, and immediately noticed the bottled water in the cup holder, the phone charger, the little packet of mints on the center console. "Rough day?" he asked as I settled into the back seat. His voice was warm, friendly, not intrusive, just kind. "You have no idea," I said, buckling my seatbelt. "I've been staring at spreadsheets for 12 hours. "Marketing?" he asked, pulling away from the curb smoothly. I was surprised. "How'd you guess?" He smiled in the rearview mirror. "You have that look. I drive a lot of people from that building. Advertising agencies, marketing firms, you all have the same exhausted expression around this time of night." I laughed. It felt good to laugh. "That obvious, huh?" "Only to someone who's been doing this for 4 years. Don't worry, you wear it well." It was a small compliment, nothing weird or inappropriate, just friendly. I appreciated it. We made small talk the rest of the ride. Nothing deep. Weather, traffic, how the Blackhawks were doing, the kind of conversation you have with someone you'll probably never see again. When he dropped me off at my apartment in Lincoln Park, I gave him 5 stars and a decent tip. I didn't think anything of it. But then I got him again, 2 weeks later. "Maya, right?" he said when I got in. "Marketing consultant, Lincoln Park?" I was impressed. "You remembered." "I'm good with faces, and you gave me a great tip last time. That kind of thing sticks with you." I laughed. "Well, you earned it. Cleanest Uber I've been in." "I try. Long day again? Is there any other kind?" We fell into easy conversation. He asked about my work, not in a creepy way, just making conversation. I found myself talking more than I usually did with drivers. Venting, really, about the ridiculous demands from clients, the office politics, the pressure to always be on. "Sounds intense," he said sympathetically. "You have anyone at home to help you decompress? Boyfriend, roommate?" "Nope," I said, scrolling through my phone. "Just me and my cat, Oliver. He's terrible at giving advice, but he's a good listener." David laughed. "Living alone has its perks though, right? No one judging you for eating cereal for dinner." "Exactly. Or watching trashy reality TV at 2 in the morning. It felt nice, normal, like talking to an acquaintance, someone who was interested but not invasive. When he dropped me off, I gave him 5 stars again. Over the next 3 months, I got David as my driver maybe once every week or two. It started feeling like fate, or algorithm, or whatever determines these things. Each time, we'd pick up where we left off. He'd ask about work, I'd complain about my boss, he'd share stories about interesting passengers or funny things that happened during his shifts. I learned he'd moved to Chicago from California. that he'd been married once, divorced now, that he drove full-time to make ends meet while working on some kind of tech startup idea. He seemed smart, articulate, ambitious. I started to think of him almost as a friend, or at least a friendly, familiar face in the sea of strangers I dealt with every day. Looking back, that was the trap. He made me comfortable, made me trust him, made me forget that he was a stranger who knew where I lived, where I worked, and increasingly everything about my life, because I told him everything. Not consciously, not like I was sitting down and giving him my life story, but in those 20-minute rides, late at night when I was tired and my guard was down, I talked, and he listened. I told him about the promotion I was going for, about my difficult boss, Sandra, who micromanaged everything and took credit for my ideas, about my best friend Rachel, who was getting married in June, about my parents who lived in Michigan and worried I worked too much, about my ex-boyfriend who'd cheated on me 2 years ago and destroyed my ability to trust anyone romantically. I told him my schedule, that I worked late every Tuesday and Thursday for weekly client meetings, that I went to yoga on Saturday mornings at the studio 2 blocks from my apartment, that I grocery shopped on Sundays at the Whole Foods on North Avenue. I told him I lived alone, that my apartment was on the 3rd floor, that the building's security was pretty lax, the door lock was broken half the time, and the cameras in the lobby hadn't worked in months. I told him my cat was my only companion, that no one really checked on me day to day, that I could disappear for a day or two and no one would notice because I sometimes ghosted my phone when work got overwhelming. I told him everything a predator would need to know, and he listened. God, did he listen. March 15th. That's the date everything changed. It was a Thursday night. I'd stayed late for a presentation that went poorly. Sandra had undermined me in front of the client, and I was furious, humiliated, ready to quit. I ordered an Uber. When David's face popped up, I actually felt relieved. At least I'd have someone to vent to. I got in the car and the tears started before I could even say hello. "Whoa, hey," David said, concerned. "What happened?" I told him everything. The presentation, Sandra's betrayal, how I'd worked so hard and she'd just stolen my ideas and made me look incompetent. How I was thinking of quitting but couldn't afford to. How I felt trapped and undervalued and so tired. He listened. Pulled over after a few minutes because I was crying so hard. "Maya," he said gently, turning around in his seat to look at me. "You don't deserve that. You're talented and smart, and that boss of yours is threatened by you. That's why she's tearing you down." "I just don't know what to do anymore," I sobbed. "I don't have anyone to talk to about this. Rachel's busy with wedding planning. My parents would just tell me to move home. I'm so alone." "You're not alone," he said, and his voice was so kind, so genuine. "I know we're just driver and passenger, but I'm here. Anytime you need to talk, I'm here." I looked up at him through my tears. He was smiling at me with such warmth, such understanding. "Thank you," I whispered. "That really means a lot." He handed me a tissue from a box he kept in the front seat. "Take all the time you need. I'm not in a hurry." We sat there for 10 minutes while I pulled myself together. He told me a story about his ex-wife, how she'd made him feel worthless during their divorce, and how he'd rebuilt his life afterward. It made me feel less alone. When he finally drove me home, I felt this weird sense of gratitude, like I'd found an unexpected friend in an unexpected place. I gave him a huge tip that night, and in the comments I wrote, "Best driver ever, made a terrible day bearable." I thought I was being nice. I didn't realize I was giving him exactly what he wanted. Confirmation that I was vulnerable, isolated, desperate for connection. The perfect victim. April came. My rides with David increased. I didn't request him specifically, the app doesn't let you do that, but somehow I kept getting him, 2, sometimes 3 times a week. I started looking forward to it. Those 20 minutes in his car became my therapy session, the one place I could vent without judgment. I told him when I didn't get the promotion. He was outraged on my behalf. I told him when I had to cancel my vacation because Sandra demanded I stay for a pitch. He called it abuse. I told him when my landlord raised my rent and I wasn't sure I could afford the new rate. He offered advice about Chicago housing markets. I told him about the guy from the gym who asked me out and then ghosted me after 2 dates. David said the guy was an idiot who didn't deserve me. Every conversation made me trust him more, made me think he genuinely cared. And maybe part of him did. I don't know. Predators are complicated. But what I know now, what I didn't know then, is that he was taking notes. Mental notes. Maybe physical ones too. He was cataloging everything. My schedule, my vulnerabilities, my lack of support system, my apartment security weaknesses, my emotional state, my patterns. He was building a profile. And I was helping him do it. The first weird thing happened in late April. I was walking to the yoga studio on a Saturday morning and I saw David's car, not in motion, not picking someone up, just parked across the street. I waved. He waved back, rolled down his window. "Hey, funny running into you," I said. "Yeah, small world," he said, smiling. "I just dropped someone off nearby. Heading to yoga?" "Yup, you know me, creature of habit." "That's good. Consistency's important. Stay safe out there." It didn't feel weird at the time. Chicago's big, but neighborhoods are small. Running into someone you know isn't that strange. But looking back, I remember the way he said it. "You know me, creature of habit." Like he was confirming something. Like he was checking. The second weird thing was in early May. I was at Whole Foods on a Sunday afternoon grabbing groceries. I turned a corner in the produce section and literally bumped into David. "Oh my God," I laughed. "We have to stop meeting like this." He laughed too. "Right? I swear I'm not stalking you." "If you were, you'd be the worst stalker. You keep letting me see you." We both laughed. It felt like a joke, a funny coincidence. "You shop here too?" I asked. "Yeah, it's close to my place. I live a few blocks over." "No way. I didn't know you lived in this neighborhood." "Yeah, just moved here a couple months ago, actually. Closer to where most of my rides are, you know?" It made sense, totally reasonable. Except it wasn't. Because later, much later, I'd learned that David didn't live anywhere near Lincoln Park. He lived in Rogers Park, miles away. He'd lied. He was there because I was there. But I didn't know that then. I just thought, small world. May 23rd, the Thursday that changed everything. I'd worked late again, not as late as usual, left around 8 instead of 10. I was exhausted, but not destroyed, just ready to go home, feed Oliver, and zone out in front of Netflix. I ordered an Uber. David's face popped up, as usual. I got in the car. "Hey, David." "Hey, Maya, how was your day?" "Not terrible, actually. Sandra was out sick, so I got to run a meeting on my own, and it went great." "That's awesome. See, you don't need her. You're more than capable." We chatted about the meeting, my ideas, and how I thought I might finally be making progress toward that promotion. We were about 5 minutes from my apartment when David's phone rang through the car's Bluetooth. "Sorry, I should take this," he said. "It's my mom. She's been sick." "Of course, no problem." He answered. "Hey, Mom. Yeah, I'm working." "No, I can talk. What's up?" He had a whole conversation with her about her doctor's appointment, her medications, how she was feeling. He sounded so caring, so attentive. I thought, he's a good son. I didn't think, this call is fake. He's establishing himself as a trustworthy person with a sick mother who would never hurt anyone. When he hung up, he sighed. "Sorry about that. She worries if I don't answer." "No worries. You're a good son for being there for her." "I try. She's all I have, really. Family is everything, you know?" I agreed, felt even more warmth toward him. We were 2 blocks from my apartment when he said, "Hey, I'm so sorry, but I need to pull over for a second. I think I felt something weird with the car. Might be the tire pressure." Oh, sure, no problem. He pulled into a side street, one of those narrow residential streets that's basically empty after dark, turned off the engine. I'll just be a second, let me check. He got out, walked around the car. I heard him kicking a tire or something. I was scrolling through my phone, not paying attention. Then I heard the back door on the other side open. I looked up, confused. David? But it wasn't David getting back in. It was a cloth over my face, chemical smell, sweet and sickening. I tried to scream, but the cloth was pressed so hard against my mouth and nose I couldn't breathe. I tried to fight, but my arms felt like they were moving through water. I heard David's voice, calm and cold. Just breathe, Maya. It'll be over soon. Everything went black. I woke up in darkness. Complete, absolute darkness. The kind where you can't see your hand in front of your face, even when you're sure your eyes are open. My head was pounding. My mouth tasted like chemicals. My thoughts were thick and slow, like trying to think through fog. Where was I? I tried to move and realized my hands were tied behind my back, zip ties cutting into my wrists. My ankles were bound too. Panic hit me like a physical force. My heart started racing, my breath coming in short gasps. I was lying on something cold and hard. Concrete, maybe. I could smell must and dampness. A basement. I was in a basement. Help! I tried to scream, but my voice came out as a croak. My throat was so dry. Help! No response, just silence and darkness. I tried to remember. The Uber, David. Something over my face, that smell. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. David had drugged me, kidnapped me. This was real. This was happening. I started hyperventilating, pulling against the zip ties until my wrists were bleeding, screaming until my voice gave out. No one came. I don't know how long I was alone in that darkness. Hours, maybe. My sense of time was completely gone. Eventually, I heard footsteps above me, floorboards creaking, then footsteps coming downstairs. A door opened. Light flooded in, blinding after so long in darkness. I squeezed my eyes shut, tears streaming down my face. You're awake. Good. David's voice, but different. Not warm anymore, not friendly. Cold. Clinical. I forced my eyes open, squinting against the light. He was standing in the doorway of the basement, silhouetted by the light from upstairs. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I could see he was holding something. A bottle of water. He came down the stairs, slowly, calmly, like he had all the time in the world. I tried to scramble backward, but there was nowhere to go. My back hit a wall. Please, I whispered. Please don't hurt me. Hurt you? He sounded almost offended. Maya, I'm not going to hurt you. I care about you. He crouched down in front of me, and in the dim light I could finally see his face. He looked the same. Same kind eyes, same gentle smile. It was terrifying. Why are you doing this? My voice was shaking so badly I could barely get the words out. Because you need me, he said simply. Because you've been so alone, so unhappy, and I can fix that. By kidnapping me? By saving you. He opened the water bottle. Here, drink. You must be thirsty. I shook my head, pressing myself harder against the wall. Maya, don't be difficult. You're dehydrated. Drink. I don't want anything from you. I want to go home. His expression darkened. You don't mean that. That apartment isn't a home. It's a prison. You work 14-hour days for a boss who treats you like garbage. You have no friends because you're always working. You're so lonely you cried to your Uber driver. That's not a life. It's my life. It was, but I'm offering you something better, a chance to start over, with me. The way he said it, with such conviction, such sincerity, made my skin crawl. He wasn't some monster who knew he was doing something evil. He genuinely believed he was rescuing me. "You've been planning this," I said quietly, my mind starting to work through the fog of fear. "The conversations. You've been gathering information about me." He smiled, actually smiled, proud of himself. "You're very perceptive. That's one of the things I love about you. Yes, I've been learning about you, your schedule, your habits, your vulnerabilities. I needed to make sure I could take care of you properly." "Take care of me? You kidnapped me." "I removed you from a toxic situation," he corrected. "There's a difference." He reached toward me with the water bottle. I flinched violently. "Maya, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to take care of you. Please, drink." Every instinct screamed at me not to take anything from him, but my throat was so dry it hurt. My lips were cracked. I'd been unconscious for hours, maybe longer. If I wanted to survive this, and I needed to survive this, I needed to be functional. I let him bring the bottle to my lips. I drank, hating myself for it, but needing it. "Good girl," he murmured. I wanted to vomit. He stayed for a while, talking, explaining his plan. He'd been watching me for months, he said, since the first ride in January. He'd known immediately that I was special, different from his other passengers. He'd started paying attention, remembering details, requesting rides in my area on Thursday and Tuesday nights, the days he knew I worked late. The app's algorithm helped. Once he'd given me several rides, the system started matching us more frequently. He'd learned everything about me through our conversations, my schedule, my isolation, my apartment security, the fact that no one would miss me immediately. "You made it so easy," he said, almost fondly. "You trusted me. You told me everything." "Because I thought you were safe. I thought you were just a driver." "I was never just a driver, Maya. I was your friend, and now I'm going to be more than that." The way he said it made bile rise in my throat. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "I want you to understand that this is better, that I'm giving you a gift. No more terrible boss, no more soul-crushing job, no more loneliness, just you and me." "That's not a gift, that's a prison." His expression hardened. "You'll understand eventually. It takes time, I know that, but you'll see." He stood up, heading for the stairs. "Wait," I said desperately. "You can't just leave me down here." "I have to go to work. Can't break routine, people might notice. But I'll be back tonight. I brought you some things." He gestured to a corner I hadn't noticed. A bucket, a blanket, a box of granola bars. "David, please." "It's okay," he said gently. "I know you're scared, but you're safe with me, I promise." He went upstairs. The door closed. The lock clicked. And I was alone again in the dark. I spent that first day trying everything to escape. I worked at the zip ties until my wrists were raw and bleeding. Nothing. They were industrial strength, probably bought specifically for this. I searched every inch of the basement, feeling my way in the dark. Concrete walls, concrete floor, one tiny window at the ground level, covered with boards from the outside, a water heater, a furnace, some boxes. Nothing. Nothing sharp. Nothing useful. The door at the top of the stairs was solid wood, locked from the outside. I tried screaming again, but I was exhausted and my voice was shot. And I realized if this was his house, we were probably in a residential area, with walls thick enough that neighbors wouldn't hear. He'd thought of everything. By the time he came back that evening, I'd moved through panic and terror into something colder: calculation. If I couldn't escape physically, I needed to play this smarter. I needed to figure out where I was, get him to make a mistake, find a way to leave a trail or signal for help. I needed to survive. David came back around 9 p.m. I could hear traffic sounds when he opened the front door upstairs, then silence when he closed it. He came down with food, fast food from the smell, burger and fries. "I brought dinner," he said, his voice cheerful. "Thought you might be hungry." I was, desperately. I hadn't eaten since lunch yesterday. But I also needed information. "Thank you," I said quietly, trying to sound less hostile, less terrified. He noticed. His whole demeanor brightened. "I'm glad you're calming down," he said, setting the food near me. "I knew you'd start to understand." He untied my hands, keeping my ankles bound, and watched me eat. "Where are we?" I asked, between bites. "My house." "But where? What neighborhood?" He smiled. "Nice try. You don't need to know that yet." "Yet?" "Once you're ready. Once I know you're not going to do something stupid like try to run." "How long are you planning to keep me here?" "As long as it takes." "For what?" "For you to understand that this is where you belong." He said it so matter-of-factly, like it was obvious, like kidnapping someone and holding them prisoner was a reasonable path to a relationship. "David, people will look for me, my job, my friends. Your job thinks you quit. I sent an email from your phone before I got rid of it. Very professional. 2 weeks' notice. You said you were burned out and needed a fresh start." My blood went cold. "You have my phone?" "Had. I destroyed it. But not before I sent some texts, too. Told your friend Rachel you needed some space. Told your parents you were taking a mental health break and would call them in a week. Very believable, actually. You'd been so stressed." He'd thought of everything. "Rachel will know something's wrong," I said desperately. "She knows I wouldn't just disappear before her wedding." "The wedding's not until June. That's weeks away. By then," he trailed off, smiling. "By then what?" "By then, you'll have accepted this, and we can figure out what comes next together." Days blurred together. I tried to keep track by counting David's visits, but I'd lose count in the darkness, exhaustion, and fear. He had a routine. He'd come down twice a day, morning before work, evening after, bring food, water, sometimes clothes from my apartment that he'd apparently gone back for. He'd untie my hands to let me eat, but keep my ankles bound. He'd talk to me about his day, his startup idea, which I realized now was completely fictional, his plans for us. He wanted me to talk back, to engage, to bond. At first, I refused, just ate in silence, staring at the wall. But I realized that wasn't helping. If anything, it made him frustrated, agitated. So I started responding, carefully, strategically. I'd ask him questions about himself, show interest, pretend to understand his twisted logic. "Why me?" I asked one day. "Of all your passengers, why did you choose me?" He looked pleased that I'd asked. "You were different," he said. "So many people are fake. They put up walls. But you were real with me. You trusted me with your pain, your struggles. You saw me as a person, not just a driver. I felt connected to you." "I did see you as a person," I said quietly. "I thought we were friends." "We were. We are. This is just the next step." "Friends don't kidnap each other. Friends save each other," he corrected. "That's what I'm doing, saving you from a life that was destroying you." He genuinely believed it. That's what was so terrifying. This wasn't some calculated psychopath who knew he was evil. This was a delusional man who'd convinced himself he was a hero, which made him unpredictable, dangerous in a different way. On what I think was day 6, something changed. David came down in the evening, but he seemed off, distracted, worried. What's wrong? I asked. He looked at me surprised. You can tell? You're not yourself. He sat down on the stairs, rubbing his face. There was a detective at my door today. My heart started racing. What? Some woman, Detective Park, said she was investigating a missing person. You. Someone reported you missing. Thank God for Rachel, for knowing me well enough to sense something was wrong. But David didn't look worried anymore. He looked determined. It doesn't matter, he said. I told her I'd driven you a few times, but hadn't seen you in weeks. She believed me. My record is clean. I'm just a driver. Why would she suspect me? He was right, and that realization was crushing. She'll figure it out, I said desperately. Someone will. No, they won't, because I've been careful, and because he pulled something from his pocket, a newspaper. He handed it to me. The headline made my stomach drop. Marketing consultant missing. Police seek information. There was my photo, a professional headshot from LinkedIn. The article said I'd been missing for 6 days, that my friend had reported it after concerning text messages, that police were investigating but had no leads. You see, David said quietly, to them, you're just another young woman who maybe ran off, burned out from work stress, needed a break. They're not really looking for you, Maya, not the way you'd hope. He was probably right. I'd read enough stories. Women go missing every day. Unless there's obvious evidence of foul play, police treat it as a voluntary disappearance for the first few weeks. I was running out of time. That night, I made a decision. I couldn't overpower David physically. I couldn't escape the basement through strength or force. But maybe I could escape through manipulation. He wanted connection, wanted me to accept this situation, to see him as a savior rather than a captor. What if I gave him that? Or at least made him think I was giving him that? It was risky. If I pushed too hard, he might see through it. But if I did it carefully, gradually, maybe I could earn enough trust that he'd make a mistake, leave a door unlocked, let his guard down, something. So the next day, when he came down, I tried something different. Can I ask you something? I said. Of course. What's your real name? He blinked, surprised. What do you mean? David Chen, that's not real, is it? You said you moved here from California, but your accent, you sound Midwestern, and you've mentioned places around Chicago like you've lived here forever. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he smiled. You're very observant. I always loved that about you. So what is it? Your real name? Marcus Webb. And David Chen? An identity I bought online. Clean record, perfect for driving strangers around. How many women have you done this to? None. He sounded almost offended. You, the first, the only one. I told you, you're special. I didn't know if I believed him, but I nodded like I did. Marcus, I said, testing out the name, can I ask you something else? Anything. Can I have some light? Real light. The darkness, it's really hard. He considered this. I'll bring down a lamp tomorrow. You'll need to prove I can trust you first. How? No more escape attempts, no more fighting. Accept that this is your life now. I looked down at my tied ankles, my bleeding wrists. Okay, I whispered. Over the next week, I played the part. I stopped resisting, started talking to him more, asking about his day, his interests, his childhood. I learned he'd been in foster care growing up, bounced around between families who didn't want him. He'd been lonely his whole life, had trouble connecting with people. That's why I drive, he said. I get to talk to people, learn about them, but they leave before they can disappoint me. But you kept me, I said carefully, because you're different. You wouldn't disappoint me. I was walking a tightrope, being friendly enough to gain trust, but not so friendly he'd think I was faking. It was exhausting, terrifying. Every conversation felt like one wrong word could make him violent. But slowly it started working. He brought down the lamp, started untying my ankles during his visits, brought me better food, books, even his laptop once so I could watch a movie while he was at work. "I'm trusting you," he said when he left the laptop. "Don't make me regret it." The laptop, that was my chance. The second he was gone, I opened it, tried to access the internet, but of course he'd disabled the Wi-Fi connection, probably removed the wireless card entirely. I checked for documents, files, anything with an address. Nothing. It was a clean laptop, probably bought just for this purpose. But I didn't give up. I kept looking. In the browser history, even though he'd cleared it, in cached files, in photo metadata, and finally, I found something. A document in the trash folder, some kind of receipt or invoice. And at the top, an address. 3847 South Low Avenue, Bridgeport neighborhood. I knew it. Not far from my office, actually. I memorized the address, deleted the document from the trash so he wouldn't know I'd seen it. Then I closed the laptop and waited. Now I knew where I was. The question was, what could I do with that information? Escape came from an unexpected place. It was what I think was day 15, maybe 16. I'd lost count. Marcus had been gone all day. I could hear him above me, pacing. He seemed agitated about something. When he finally came down that evening, he was different. Nervous, scared almost. "What's wrong?" I asked. Detective Park came back, started asking more questions about my routes, where I was the night you disappeared, if I had any dash cam footage. "Do you?" "No, I disabled all the cameras, but she's suspicious, I could tell." Good. Detective Park was doing her job, getting closer. "What are you going to do?" I asked. I don't know. He was spiraling, I could see it. "I might need to move, take you somewhere else, somewhere safer." Moving would be bad. Right now, I knew where I was. If he moved me, I'd lose that advantage. I needed to do something, now. "Marcus," I said carefully, "if you move me, it'll be harder for both of us. More risk of being seen, more chance of getting caught." "I know, but what if there was another way?" He looked at me. "What do you mean?" "What if I could help? Make it clear that I left voluntarily, that you had nothing to do with my disappearance." "How?" "Let me call Detective Park. Tell her I'm fine, that I did need a break, and I'm sorry for worrying everyone, but I'm safe." He stared at me. "You do that? If it means you stay safe, if it means we stay here together." I forced myself to maintain eye contact, to look sincere. He wanted so badly to believe me. "You'd really do that for me?" His voice was almost childlike, hopeful. "I understand now," I lied. "My old life was destroying me. Maybe this is better. But if the police keep investigating, they'll find us, and then this ends. I don't want that." It was the most dangerous gamble I'd ever made. If he saw through it, if he realized I was manipulating him, I didn't know what he'd do. But Marcus was so desperate for validation, so convinced his delusion was reality, that he wanted to believe me. "I'd need to be there," he said slowly, "on the call, to make sure you say the right things." "Of course, I understand." He thought about it for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, tomorrow. We'll call her tomorrow." That night, I couldn't sleep. This was my chance, maybe my only chance, but it had to be perfect. I went over everything in my mind, what I'd say, how I'd say it, the code words I could slip in that might alert Detective Park something was wrong without alerting Marcus. It had to sound natural, believable, like I really was a burned-out woman who'd run away from her life, but with just enough wrong that a smart detective would catch it. The next morning, Marcus came down with his phone. "I'm going to dial," he said. "You're going to talk. If you say anything, and I mean anything, that makes her suspicious, this ends badly for both of us. Understand?" I nodded. He dialed, put it on speaker. "Detective Park, this is Marcus Webb. I got a call from Maya Patel. She wanted to speak with you." There was a pause. Then a woman's voice, sharp and professional. "Mr. Webb, I'm going to need you to put Miss Patel on the line directly." Marcus looked at me, nodded. "Detective Park?" My voice came out shaky. "Good, that would sound real. It's Maya. I'm so sorry for the worry I've caused. Miss Patel, we've been looking for you for over 2 weeks. Where are you?" "I'm safe. I needed to get away. Work was too much, everything was too much. I should have told someone, but I just left." "Left to where?" "A friend's place. I've been staying with a friend, just trying to clear my head." "What friend?" "We contacted everyone in your phone." "Someone from a long time ago. You wouldn't know them." I could hear the skepticism in her voice. "Miss Patel, are you in danger right now?" Marcus tensed. His hand moved toward the phone, ready to end the call. "No," I said quickly. "No, I'm not. I promise. I'm embarrassed. I overreacted to stress and disappeared without telling anyone. I'm sorry. I need you to come to the station, in person, so we can verify you're safe and close this case properly." "I can't. Not yet. I'm not ready to face everyone. Please, can you just tell Rachel I'm okay? Tell her I'll call her when I'm ready?" Marcus was relaxing. This was going the way he wanted. But I needed to give Park something, some clue. "Actually," I said, my heart pounding so hard I was sure Marcus could hear it, "can you tell Rachel something specific? Tell her I'm finally doing what we talked about, taking that break I needed. She'll understand." Rachel and I had never talked about me taking a break. She knew I was a workaholic who never stopped. That phrase would sound wrong to her. "What break?" Park asked. "Just, she'll know. We talked about it at Oliver's party." Oliver, my cat, who'd never had a party, who'd never even met Rachel because she was allergic. It was subtle, maybe too subtle, but it was all I could risk. "Miss Patel, I'm sorry I have to go. Thank you for looking for me. I'll be in touch." Marcus ended the call. He was smiling. "See? She believes you." "I hope so." "She does. I could hear it in her voice. This is going to work, Maya. We're going to be okay." He was so happy, so relieved that he did something he'd never done before. He untied my ankles completely. "You earned this. Thank you for helping me. For helping us." Then he went upstairs, leaving me with my legs free for the first time in over 2 weeks. I waited 3 hours. 3 hours of listening to him move around upstairs, listening to him shower, listening to him settle in for the night. My legs were weak, atrophied from 2 weeks of limited movement, but they worked. The door at the top of the stairs was still locked, but I'd been watching him every time he came down. The lock was old, simple, just a basic doorknob lock with a button push from the other side. I searched the basement, found a wire hanger in one of the boxes, straightened it, bent the end. I'd seen this in movies, wasn't sure if it actually worked, but I had to try. I crept up the stairs, each step sending pain shooting through my weakened legs. At the top, I worked the wire into the gap between the door and the frame, felt for the mechanism. It took 20 minutes. 20 minutes of my heart trying to beat out of my chest, expecting to hear Marcus wake up, come investigate. Then I felt it. The lock clicked. The door opened. I was out. The house was dark. Silent except for the sound of Marcus snoring in what I assumed was his bedroom. I was in a kitchen, old, worn, dirty dishes in the sink. I saw my purse on the counter. Marcus must have brought it from my apartment. I grabbed it, praying my keys were still inside. They were. I saw a phone charger plugged into the wall, and next to it, Marcus's phone. I grabbed it. No password. He'd been too confident, too trusting after my performance. I pulled up the dial pad, my hands shaking so badly I could barely type. 911. 911, what's your emergency? I've been kidnapped. I'm at 3847 South Low Avenue. My name is Maya Patel. Marcus Webb kidnapped me. I'm in his house. Please send help. Ma'am, stay on the line. Officers are on their way. I can't. He might wake up. Please hurry. I hung up, grabbed my purse, and headed for the front door. It was locked. Deadbolt, and I didn't have the key. Panic. Could I break a window? Too loud, he'd hear. Back door. There had to be a back door. I ran through the kitchen, found it. This one wasn't deadbolted, just a regular lock. I turned it, opened the door. Cold night air hit my face. Freedom. I ran. I didn't know where I was going. Didn't care. Just ran down the alley behind the house, my weak legs screaming in protest. I heard sirens in the distance, getting closer. I kept running, block after block, until I saw them. Police cars, lights flashing, pulling up to a house. Marcus's house. I stopped, fell to my knees on the sidewalk, started sobbing. A police officer saw me, ran over. Ma'am? Ma'am, are you okay? I'm Maya Patel, I gasped. I'm Maya Patel. They arrested Marcus that night, found him in his house, in his bed, sleeping peacefully, completely unaware I'd escaped until the police kicked in his door. They found the basement, the zip ties, the bucket, the lamp, all of it. They found his laptop with search histories about kidnapping, about Stockholm Syndrome, about how to make someone fall in love with their captor. They found journals, pages and pages of entries about me, dating back to January. Every conversation we'd had, documented in detail. His plans, his fantasies, his delusions. You are my destiny, one entry read. You just don't know it yet. But you will. I'll save you from your life, and you'll thank me. You'll see that I'm the only one who truly understands you. I was right. I'd been his target from the very first ride. Detective Sarah Park came to see me in the hospital. I'd been checked in for dehydration, malnutrition, and severe psychological trauma. They wanted to keep me for observation. Miss Patel, she said, sitting beside my bed, I'm so sorry we didn't find you sooner. You did find me. My clues, did they help? She smiled. They did. Oliver's party stuck out immediately. Your friend Rachel told us you don't throw parties for your cat. And the phrasing about taking a break, she said that was completely out of character for you. It gave me enough to push for a warrant to track the call. We traced it to Marcus Webb's phone, ran his address, and started surveillance. But I escaped before you got there. You did. You saved yourself. That took incredible courage and intelligence. I was lucky. You were smart. You played him, built trust, found your location, planted clues. That wasn't luck. That was survival. I started crying. He seemed so normal, so nice. I trusted him. That's what predators do. They find vulnerabilities and exploit them. You're not the first person to trust the wrong person, and you won't be the last. But you survived. That's what matters. What's going to happen to him? He's being charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, assault, and about a dozen other charges. With the evidence we have, he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. Good. God, that was good. The trial was 6 months later. I had to testify, had to sit in that courtroom and look at Marcus and recount every detail of my captivity. He stared at me the entire time, not angry, not hateful, just confused, like he still didn't understand why I was doing this to him, why he didn't appreciate his grand gesture of saving me. The prosecution played the recording of my 911 call, showed photos of the basement, read excerpts from his journals. "I loved her," Marcus said when he finally took the stand. "I still love her. I gave her everything. I removed all the stress from her life, all the pain, and she betrayed me." He genuinely believed he was the victim. The jury saw through it, deliberated for less than 3 hours, guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 45 years without the possibility of parole. "Mr. Webb," the judge said, "you didn't love Miss Patel. You loved the idea of controlling her. You saw a vulnerable woman and decided to exploit that vulnerability for your own gratification. That's not love. That's predation, and this court will not tolerate it." Marcus was taken away, still looking confused, still not understanding. I felt nothing watching him go. Not relief, not satisfaction, just emptiness. Recovery was harder than captivity in some ways. The physical part was easy. I healed, gained back the weight I'd lost, my wrists scarred but faded over time. The psychological part, that took longer. I couldn't be alone, not at first. My parents flew in from Michigan and stayed with me for 2 months. Rachel came by every day. I couldn't get in a car with a stranger, couldn't take Ubers or Lyfts or taxis. The thought of being in a vehicle with someone I didn't know sent me into full panic attacks. I couldn't go back to my apartment. Too many memories, too much fear that he'd been inside, touched my things, watched me sleep. I moved. New neighborhood, new building, this one with actual security, cameras that worked, doorman, multiple locks. I quit my job. Sandra had been concerned when I went missing, but the minute I came back, she wanted me in the office immediately, wanted me to finish a project, no time for recovery, no understanding. I quit via email, never went back. Started freelancing from home, took 6 months off first, just focused on therapy, on healing, on learning to feel safe again. My therapist, Dr. Morrison, specialized in trauma, specifically kidnapping and captivity trauma. "What you're experiencing is normal. You were held captive for over 2 weeks. Your trust was violated in the most fundamental way. Someone you thought was safe turned out to be the most dangerous person in your life. That rewires your brain, changes how you see the world." Will I ever feel normal again? You'll feel different. Not broken, just different. You'll be more cautious, more aware. That's not always a bad thing. But yes, with time and work, you'll find a new normal. She was right. It took time. Lots of time. Lots of therapy. Lots of bad days where I couldn't leave my apartment because the world felt too dangerous. But slowly, gradually, I healed. 2 years after the trial, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went back to work full-time. Not marketing. I couldn't stomach the long hours and toxic environments anymore. Instead, I became an advocate. I started speaking at conferences about personal safety, about the warning signs of predatory behavior, about how normal, friendly people can be dangerous, about trusting your instincts. I worked with Uber and Lyft to improve their safety protocols, background checks, better verification systems, panic buttons in the app. I partnered with Detective Park to create training materials for police on how to handle missing persons cases, especially when victims might be held captive and forced to say they're okay. And I started a nonprofit, Safe Ride. We provide education about rideshare safety, help survivors of rideshare violence, and lobby for better regulations. Turning my trauma into purpose didn't erase what happened, but it gave it meaning. Last month, I got a letter. From prison. From Marcus. I almost threw it away without opening it, but curiosity won. Inside was a single page, handwritten. Dear Maya, I know you won't want to hear from me, but I need to tell you something I've finally understood after 2 years of therapy here. What I did was wrong. Not because society says it was wrong, but because you hurt me. You took away your freedom, your dignity, your sense of safety, and I did it while telling myself I was helping you. I was sick. I am sick. Something in my brain doesn't work the way it should. I form attachments to people who don't know me. I create entire relationships in my head, and I convince myself they're real. You were never my soulmate. You were my victim, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I finally see the truth. What I did was monstrous, and I will spend every day for the rest of my life regretting it. I hope you found peace. I hope you've healed. I hope you've built a life worth living. I'm sorry I ever tried to take that from you. Marcus. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a folder with all the other documentation from the case. Evidence of what happened. A reminder of what I survived. I didn't respond. He didn't deserve a response. But I believed him. That he finally understood. That he finally saw himself clearly. It didn't change anything. Didn't undo the trauma. Didn't make him less dangerous or less guilty. But it was something. A tiny piece of closure in a story that would never fully close. I'm 32 now. 3 years since that night. I still don't take ride shares alone. Probably never will. I take the train. I walk. My friend picks me up. Or I drive myself. I bought a car finally, after years of not having one. I still check locks obsessively. Still have nightmares sometimes where I'm back in that basement, in the dark, and I can hear him coming down the stairs. But I also have good days. Days where I don't think about Marcus at all. Days where I meet friends for dinner, work on safe ride campaigns, visit my parents, go to Rachel's house to play with her baby. Days where I feel safe, where I feel like myself again, or at least like the new version of myself I've become. I went on a date recently, first one since everything happened, a guy from the nonprofit world. We met at a conference. It was terrifying, being vulnerable with someone again, trusting someone again. But it was also nice. He was kind, patient, didn't push when I said I wasn't ready to talk about my past yet. We're taking it slow. Maybe it'll go somewhere, maybe it won't. But the fact that I can even try, that I can imagine a future where I trust someone again, where I let someone close, that feels like victory. I want to tell you something I wish someone had told me before that night in March. Pay attention to your instincts. When something feels off, it probably is. Don't share personal information with strangers, even friendly ones, especially friendly ones. Predators use friendliness as camouflage. Don't fall into routines that make you predictable. Vary your schedule, your routes, your habits. Being a creature of habit makes you an easy target. And if something happens, if you find yourself in danger, don't be ashamed. It's not your fault that someone chose to hurt you. It's not your fault that someone took your trust and weaponized it. You did nothing wrong. The predator did. I blamed myself for months, for talking too much in the car, for trusting Marcus, for not seeing the signs. But Dr. Morrison told me something that changed everything. You were being a normal human being. You were tired, stressed, and you found comfort in what seemed like a friendly connection. That's not a weakness. That's humanity. He's the one who exploited that. That's on him, not you. She was right. I didn't do anything wrong by being friendly, by venting about work, by trusting someone who seemed trustworthy. Marcus did something wrong by taking that trust and using it to hurt me. The blame belongs to him, entirely to him. I still think about that first ride sometimes. January, the cold night, getting into his car, noticing the bottled water, the phone charger, the mints. All those little touches designed to make me feel safe, to make me trust him. I wonder if things would have been different if I'd gotten a different driver that night, if the algorithm had matched me with someone else. Would he have fixated on another woman? Or was there something about me specifically, my vulnerability, my isolation, my openness, that triggered him? I'll never know. What I do know is this: Marcus was hunting, maybe not consciously at first, but he was looking for someone like me, someone alone, someone stressed, someone who might trust him, and I happened to be there. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong driver. But I survived. That's what matters. I survived, and he's in prison, and I'm here, living my life, helping others, healing. I'm not the same person I was before. I'm more guarded, more cautious. I see danger where I used to see kindness, but I'm also stronger, braver, more aware of my own resilience. I learned that I can survive the unthinkable, that I can stare down evil and come out the other side. I learned that trust, once broken, can be rebuilt. Slowly, carefully, but rebuilt nonetheless. And I learned that healing isn't linear. It's messy. Some days I'm fine. Some days I'm not. And both are okay. If you're reading this and you've been through something similar, if someone took advantage of your trust, your vulnerability, your humanity, I want you to know, it's not your fault. You will survive this. You are stronger than you know. And your story doesn't end with what was done to you. It continues with what you do next, how you heal, how you rebuild, how you take back your life. I got my life back. It looks different than I thought it would, different than it was before, but it's mine, and it's good, and I'm grateful for it every single day. My name is Maya Patel. I'm a survivor, and this is my story.